All right, everybody, the first question that was asked is, why did you choose to be a meteorologist? And that's a really good question. When I was a little kid, only 2 years old, there was a tornado that touched down right across the street from my house in Hamden. And that interest in weather just began at that point in my life. And I always had the interest in it. I got books on lightning and then books on tornadoes that were really cool to be able to see when I was a little kid. And then as I got older, I realized that getting into school for meteorology was what I wanted to do. And so I ended up going to school. And to answer the second question, did you go to a special college for this? The answer to that question is kind of, yes. There are very few schools in Connecticut, in the country that allow for students to go for meteorology. In Connecticut, there's only one. It's Western Connecticut State University. And so I went to WestConn to be able to do that. Let's take a look at some of the different cameras that we have here as I kind of walk around the studio so you can see where we do our job here. The next question that was asked is, did you have any other plans before you chose to be a meteorologist? So on TV, yes. I wasn't sure that being on TV is what I wanted to do. I ended up going to school for meteorology and with my degree in operational meteorology and weather forecasting. I didn't know whether I would end up doing research or I would end up doing something that involved being on TV, but I ended up doing some green screen work when I was in college, and then that's where sort of my love for weather and the TV side of weather ended up beginning. Never went to school for broadcast journalism either, by the way, where most people that are on TV did. All right, what days of the week do you work at WTNH and how did you get this job? Perfect question to ask. So I work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday during the day, and I work on Saturday and Sunday at night. So I do our 6 p.m., our 10 p.m., and our 11 p.m. newscasts on Saturdays and Sundays. During the weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I do a lot of our 10 a.m. newscasts and some of our noon shows as well. How I got this job is kind of an interesting story. After I got out of college, I just emailed every single on-air person. And for those of you who know the on-air people, Ann Nyberg just responded to my email in the middle of the night and ended up having me come in here for an interview, and that led to me getting a job. All right, to the next question. What tools do you use to predict the weather? That's a great question as well. And you guys had the opportunity to see some of those tools. I use our mobile weather lab when I go out across the state to be able to see what the weather is like in those locations, which is really great. And I also use forecast models to help me figure that out. That data is public, which means you can get that information right on your phone as well. The next question that was asked, do you see a lot of disasters? That's a great question as well. I'll move to a different spot so you guys can see. Flip me over to camera 3 if possible. Do you get to see a lot of disasters? To answer the question, I'm in the dark, so sorry. To answer the question, yes, sort of. I mean, any disaster that you guys see here in Connecticut, we end up seeing here as well. And so snowstorms are big ones, obviously, and hurricanes are big ones, of course, and more severe snowstorms, which would be a blizzard. That's another natural disaster that we get to see. Tornadoes don't happen too often here in Connecticut, but we average between 1 and 2 every single year. Some years we've had 4 or 5, and some years we've had none at all. Let's hope that this coming year is none. How long have you been a meteorologist is the next question that was asked. I have been doing this at the station here for 12 years. Leroy, 12 years. It's amazing how fast time flies by. So I've been on the air now for a little bit over 10 years, and I started working here in February 2011. Next question, what is the most dangerous type of weather? To answer your question, the most dangerous type of weather depends on where you are in the world. Of course, things like volcanoes can be very dangerous, but the most dangerous things that we have, or the deadliest natural disasters, which I think we talked a little bit about, are floods and droughts. Remember, a flood is when you get a lot of rain, and a drought is the opposite, when you don't get any rain at all. What makes a drought so dangerous is that droughts oftentimes mean that people don't have food or anything to drink, and so that's what can make it so dangerous out there. Next question that was asked, how do you spot, I think the rest of it, I'm trying to read it through the teleprompter, how do you spot a meteorite? Well, it's kind of outside of the world of meteorology a little bit, but looking up, right? Those are the kinds of things similar to earthquakes where you really can't tell when it's going to be happening. So you kind of have to be lucky to be able to spot something streaking through the sky. There are some meteor showers that happen every single year on certain dates, and so you have a better opportunity to see it then. But even then, you just kind of have to look up and be lucky. How does a landslide happen? That's a really great question, and it has a lot to do with the interaction between when we get rain and when we don't get rain. Areas that don't get rain for a long period of time, especially out west in places like California, those areas get really dry. The ground gets dry and very brittle, which means it doesn't take as much force to be able to break that land off. And so sometimes when you get a little bit of rain, that can cause a landslide or can cause a mudslide as well. Next question, after a tsunami, are animals safe from the debris in the water? So a tsunami can be really dangerous, not just because of when it happens, but afterwards. When you think about all of what is on the ground getting all churned up. So things like garbage or old food and that kind of stuff can be really dangerous. And so drinking that water or being around it, people can get really sick and die from that. But are animals safe from the debris that's in the water? No, not really. And that's one of the things that can be so dangerous about it. It's the debris that can cause animals to get hurt or people to get hurt. The good news is tsunamis are very, very unlikely to happen. And here in the state of Connecticut, it will probably never happen in your entire lifetime. All right, the last question. What causes a tsunami to form? That's a great question to ask. A tsunami is formed oftentimes by an earthquake. And an earthquake under the water. And when that earthquake happens, there is a ton of force that causes that. And when one area of the ground goes up and the other one goes down, that causes a lot of force in a wave. And that wave moves really fast, hundreds of miles per hour. The wave is usually very small at the beginning, but as it gets closer and closer to land and the ocean is not so deep, when it gets closer, that wave can get higher and higher. And that's what can cause a tsunami wave to form. And that's why tsunamis can be so dangerous. If you're thinking, hey, a tsunami is more dangerous than a flood, so why didn't you say tsunami before when we were talking? That's because a tsunami is a type of flood. Remember, those natural disasters, oftentimes in the worst parts of many natural disasters is the flooding. Things like hurricanes, it's storm surge that causes the flooding. All right, I love that you guys asked all those questions, so I appreciate it. And hopefully you enjoyed the opportunity to be able to take a little tour of the studio and see what it's like to be here at News 8 inside of our building. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your winter. Will we get another snow day? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.